Hello and welcome to Before You Depart. We'll be continuing where we left off, which, if you recall, is after Memento and Mori basically witnessed Mori's quote unquote happiest memory, which was the waltz play thing. Um, but it didn't end on a high note, it ended on a different note. And Memento basically asked Mori if he could witness his last years, basically when he found out that he had cancer and he was basically dying, having to go through it. And Mori doesn't want to do that, but oh well, you're still gonna witness it, which I guess is sort of like like when you die, supposedly you witness your life flash before your eyes. So I guess this is what's happening, in a way. Anyways, but yeah, so without further ado, let us continue before you depart. One day I noticed lumps that dotted the back of my neck. Thought nothing of it then. Cysts, perhaps. They'd go away eventually. They never did. I called my doctor and I was assigned a hematologist. The waiting. God, the endless waiting. It was nothing. I'd be fine. The results returned. Chronic lymphocytic leukemia, CLL. A rare and aggressive form of blood cancer. Treatment resistant, they said. I knew what they really meant. An 80% survival rate for 5 years. Though incurable, it was an optimistic statistic. I only lasted 4 years. Interestingly, I felt nothing. When the word chronic escaped the doctor's lips, everything became dreamlike. My dreams, my ambitions, my life. As they described my options, all I could think about was my own regrets. I graduated college with a bachelor's in computer science. Though I longed for the stage, reality pulled me to my senses. Maybe if I hadn't been in this position, afflicted by a disease that would addle me for the rest of my life, that would have been the right call. No money to be made, my father would repeat. But after death, that didn't matter. Maybe I could have made something of myself in those short years between then. Computers aren't terrible, but... The first year. That first year. I had never imagined something so hellish would be experienced by the human mind. It was a void that ate away at you more than the cancer. The tests, the trials, the medication. The first months I spent in chemo, then came the radiation therapy, every day a week. By the end of each session, I was disgorging heaps of bile into the sink. I was parched, but no matter how much I drank, it never stayed down. And all of that, for what? I knew what lay ahead a few years down the line. I knew things would never get better. After the relapse, I made the decision to stop treatment. Year 2, things had gotten worse physically, but my mind, on the other hand, I think that I had accepted it by that point. One day, there was bleeding under my skin. My platelet count was dangerously low. It'd be my first year of many emergency room visits for the rest of my short life. It was getting more aggressive. My lymph nodes were so bloated that they felt like rocks grafted beneath my skin. The first visit to the emergency room, I thought that it'd finally be the end. Sadly, they managed to save me and put me back into a stable enough state to rest. The days spent in the hospital room were long and arduous. I would often think back then about my time with my theater buddies and how everything was so close-knit. But after each play, invariably some pieces of the group would fade off, away to pursue other interests. Even Stella, who stuck by me since 3rd grade, vanished unexpectedly. But one day, I saw her again. Apparently she heard about my condition through mutual friends. Unlike me, she was positively radiant, glowing brightly like the star that she was. We sat together, reminiscing on days long past. She was doing pretty well for herself, not on Broadway, but apparently doing some commercials on television. She described all the new people that she got to meet, all the hope for a bright future laid out before her. She was happy. She had hope. She had a dream that was within her grasp. She talked about wanting to star in a movie and how she'd make sure that I got some role in it as well. Thanks for the pity, but I think I'll pass. I don't believe that I'll be all that great, I'm afraid. Kinda hard to be a good actor when you're, well, dying. You're pretty fortunate to get to do all these things. I'd hate to bring you down. You're a lucky girl, Stella. More than you could ever know. She gave me a peculiar look. Ah, sorry, I think the meds are messing with me. Well, be sure to ask your doctor about that. We lingered for an awkward beat before she spoke again. I'm really sorry, but I need to go. I'll be sure to visit you again soon. She hugged me. It was great catching up with you, Mori. I nodded. Yeah. Such a lucky girl. So fucking lucky. Hospice care came by the third year. At this point, I was a dead man walking. Though amid my deterioration before the coming expiration date, they sure treated me nicely. Games, free massages, and end-of-life consultation. Not too shabby, I don't think. My new home was a dedicated building off the side, where I'd spend my final days. It was all already sorted out by then. Once I kicked the bucket, the funeral service would be on the scene immediately. All my assets would go to my father, what little I had anyways. My fate was written, and all I could do was sit around and wait for the sand to run out. By then, I loathed myself for that damn computer science degree. 4 years of study, and for what? Some soulless programming job that I couldn't care less about? A few years of boring but financially stable work. It was tolerable. I couldn't complain if it meant that I'd be supporting myself. Even knowing now how it all turned out, the move I made was likely the safest option. Like Dad said, for a person like me, going into the arts would have been financial suicide. Some kid who enjoyed community theater aiming for a chance at stardom off Broadway. I barely got into a 75% acceptance rate university. Juilliard certainly wouldn't have given me a passing glance. Yet, at this point, what did it matter? I only had a scant few years of real adult life, and they were all wasted on something that I cared nothing for. Perhaps I could have at least withered away with the satisfaction of knowing that I tried and failed, as opposed to never having tried at all. Stella visited once more. It was a winter, and the windows were glazed with frost. Stella was adorned with a gaudy sweater, colored in a lurid yellow. There was sparks in her eyes, a grin of excitement. Something huge had happened. You seem happy. I got it. I got the part. Oh, did you know? Her voice rang out like a tropical bird. My agent managed to shoo my way into a pretty big movie, Mori. Her eyes beamed with joy. I'd swear that she'd burst from the excitement. I forced a smile, nodding along as she explained just how proud she was of herself. So proud. So happy with her future. We did it, Mori. We did it. We? My smile broke. We did it? Stella, I know I'm dying, but come on. You don't need to bullshit me. Her expression froze and she chuckled nervously. Well, I just... Is that what you came here to tell me? About the exciting new life that you'll get to live? I just thought that it'd make you happy. Yeah, that makes me feel amazing, all right. I'm sorry. Did I... No, you're fine. Everything's fine. You know, except for my numbered days, everything's fine. Mori, I I thought that it'd help. Help? You thought it'd help? I sat straight up and stared her directly in the eyes. I don't need your help, Stella. I don't want it. You have to understand that there's nothing you or anyone can do to make any of this okay. It's pointless. It's bullshit. Why the fuck do you even bother with me? Are you unable to grasp the fact that maybe I don't want to be reminded of what I could be doing? Mori, that's not... Look at me. I tore my hospital gown away, revealing my diseased skin, blotched black and blue from internal bleeding. The bumps won't get any smaller. My hair bleached white after the treatment. Look at me. Look at me and tell me that this is okay. I just want dignity. I just want to go with dignity. I'm prodded day in and day out, babied every day, trapped in this godforsaken hole of misery. Mori, stop, please. I know you're going through so much. I want to be there for you. I want to help you. I understand your pain. You understand? How could you possibly understand any of this? You're on your way to a glamorous, successful, fulfilling life. And I'm on my way to an early grave. By now, Stella's eyes were red. A glistening bead of a tear rolled down her cheek. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry for all of this, Mori. But please, don't take it out on me. Let me tell you something. Did I feel satisfied? Maybe a bit. Like some justice had been earned. It was the most pathetic thing that you could imagine. I pushed her away. I made sure of that, and then I knew I shoved the last person who cared even a little away for good. It was, well, and truly... What time is it anymore? How long will it be until it's done? I had no sense of when anything was. I would wake up each night, confused and scared. I could barely recognize the faces of the nurses. The end had arrived. My body was finally giving in. I had no interest in the games, no interest in the massages. Only thing that I wanted to do was simply lay there, staring up at the ceiling with eyes half closed and mouth slightly agape. The pain had gotten unbearable, and I'd spent most of the day addled by agony that the medication only slightly subdued. One night, the night before I died, I dreamt about Mom and Dad again. They were actually together, smiling. It was lovely. Dad had made a smoked brisket sandwich glazed with barbecue sauce. Even then, in my dying stupor, I could remember the tingling sensation of its sweetness on my tongue. Mom would laugh alongside him. We even invited Stella over for some games. There was no particular passage of time, no real linearity to all of it. One moment I was there and with them, then I was middle-aged, nice and wealthy with several children and a loving husband. My parents were now elderly, so I took them on a nice tour of Europe. The way that they looked so happy together as they stared at the Eiffel Tower, it felt real. There was another dream, one where I was still an infant, barely coherent with language. I showed my parents a finger painting. They laughed, very proud of their son's incoherent splattering of colors on a canvas. It was intended to depict a dog, the one that I always wanted. A dog, yeah, a nice big dog. I remember begging for one when I was 5, but my dad strictly forbade it. Too much work, he said, too much responsibility. I wanted him to be cool, big and strong but affectionate. Someone who'd protect me and sit by my side during rainy days. Someone who I could hug, feel their warmth, and let the woes of life wash away in their embrace. Someone who would never. That's how it went then. You saw it yourself. Humans do often tell me of their suffering at the hands of illness. Does that disturb you? It's nature. This may sound disrespectful, but I truly have seen it all. I did not witness your unfortunate demise just to experience the human suffering. I understand that it exists. I understand more than you could ever know. But I must ask, why? What do you mean? Like, why we live in the first place if it all ends the same? With you? No, as selfish as it may sound, I wonder why I must exist. I was placed into this world as a means of taking you beyond, to take you to your final resting place. Beyond the instinct that is engraved into the very fiber of my being, I cannot understand the purpose of it. Things must change, things must end, that I truly understand, and to exist to perform. But the suffering? The sheer suffering of knowing that I am around the corner? Then why are you so chipper? Chipper? Yes, you're nothing like I would have imagined. I was never sure that there was an afterlife, much less a canine psychopomp who'd guide me there. You've seen thousands upon thousands of years of death and decay. You said it yourself. You've taken children, mothers, families. Those stricken with disease or those taken by freak twists of fate. You really have seen it all, haven't you? So, why do you care so much, Memento? Why do you care so much about our fleeting little lives, if they really are so transient? I didn't always. Early on, life was simple. I'm talking way early on, back before humans roamed the earth. Then it was easy. Survival of the fittest, eat or be eaten. Our job was simply to take care of the spiritual remains. As time progressed, the creatures evolved, they gained intelligence. And so did we Reapers. I can't remember much of my early days, but this? Memento motioned to himself. Is nothing like what I was a million years ago. But that was par for the course with evolution. Things changed, but the constants remained the same. Survival of the fittest. Disposal of the organisms that have met their end, be it a sea sponge that starved in the primordial muck, or a towering dinosaur suffocating from the debris of an asteroid. But when humans began walking the earth, everything changed. The intelligence they gained, they attained heights that we could never have predicted. They crafted artwork, culture, and legacy that far exceeded any previous life form. Indeed, the world had begun to revolve around the perception of these new creatures, and so too did we Reapers need to evolve. As I said before, I can't recall much from the time before the humans. It was all primordial, mindless, you could say. But soon, we grow to reflect them. Their philosophies, their desires, their bonds. The end goal was no longer to continue evolving, but rather to seek out the most fulfilling happiness an individual could experience. And perhaps as I grew to reap more humans, heard their stories, their sorrows, their joys, I believe I grew to create my own philosophies as well. I will never go away, Mori. I am fundamental to the existence of life. But Reapers change, and we evolve to fit new life forms. So what will I be like in a few thousand years? So much culture has changed in the past 1,000 years that I've spent reaping humans. I've changed so much in these couple millennia. So perhaps in a million years, when humans are no longer extinct, what will become of this me? This memento? I'm chipper and kind because I've grown with this sort of human experience. But when that changes... Oh, you big lug. What's so funny? So, this whole song and dance, we've been doing this is just you having an existential crisis? Well, when you put it like that... So you put me through all of this bullshit to help you come to terms with death? When you are death? Memento chuckled. If we knew the Grim Reaper was a stupid puppy dog in need of a big head pat and a belly rub, I don't think anyone would be afraid of death. Seeing you questioning your own existence, what the hell it all means, that's like basic human philosophy. So, as far as understanding our little plight, I'd say that you're doing pretty well for yourself, ma'am. It is quite vexing, I must admit. All this complexity. I would be lying if I didn't say that I yearn for the simplicity of the Cambrian period. I sat on the fountain's edge next to Memento. But back then, you couldn't get a nice belly rub. Trilobites aren't exactly the most affectionate organisms I've taken. Memento placed two paws on his fuzzy stomach and shook it around. But now it seems humans have a soft spot. So I decided to make this belly rounder so that there's more surface area. It's worked quite well for me, I must say. Well, I think it looks good on you, I say as I stroked its surface. Maybe keep it for the next era. It was cool to the touch, like the opposite end of a pillow. I wanted to rest my head on it. Memento chuckled a bit, clearly enjoying the experience. The big lug got on his back, unzipped his pants, and exposed the whole thing. You're honestly quite adorable. I try to be. It makes bringing the bad news easier for some folks. He's really adorable. His fur, his stupid face. Memento peered up at me. Your face? What about it? You look red, like a big cherry. What? Why would I? Ugh. I buried my face in my hands. Humans do that when they're... I know. How peculiar. I must say, you humans and your proclivities never cease to surprise me. Did you ever read Freud? He did mention something called the death drive. I was going to, but a woman in Algeria broke her neck while trying to clean a window, so another Reaper had to go about it. From what the other Reaper told me, it seems I was quite fortunate with only having ever dealt with Hegel. Memento rubbed the scruff of his thick neck. Yeah. Memento had a distant look in his eyes as he turned away from me. I guess today took a lot out of this death deity, me as well. I looked up at the sky, brilliant hues of red and orange painted behind thick wisps of clouds. The sun was falling at a steady rate, approaching the end of the day and the end of my journey. I stroked Memento's fur, but there was a peculiar lack of reaction from him. He kept looking away from me, cheating his head the other direction. Eventually, Memento gently pushed me off of his stomach, and he sat, looking troubled. Hey, are you alright? In truth, no. What's bothering you? Memento then turned his gaze to me, and I was met with a sorrowful expression, one I had never seen from the wolf until now. He looked tormented, like something was eating him from the inside. Mori, how important is the truth to you? What? If the truth were to bring you more anguish than a blissful lie, wouldn't it be better than to live that lie until the end? Memento, what are you saying? All this affection, all this praise. It has only been an afternoon, and yet I feel close to you. Memento, can you get to the point? There was something wrong. I could feel it. Mori, I feel this strong burning emotion within me. Is this shame? Guilt? Guilt? Guilty of what? Mori, I have deceived you. What? What do you mean? All this time, I thought that it'd make the process easier, but I couldn't help but feel this overwhelming burden atop my shoulders as the day progressed. Memento stared up at the sky, which had become progressively darker as the sun continued its journey behind the horizon. But I believe I owe you the truth. As your friend, Mori, when I told you before that I knew what I was after. No, I was not being truthful in my statement. There. There's no way. What do you mean? Memento got up from the fountain and looked me in the eyes. A deep anguish was roiling within him as he selected his next words. Mori, there is no paradise. What? My jaw fell slack in shock. The world seemed to slow. Then, what lies beyond that final horizon? Nothing. Nothing? At all? Not even us Reapers know. There's no trace left, not a hint. The body returns to the earth, and the spirit returns to the universe. What truly happens to your consciousness? We have no way of knowing. But in all likelihood, I don't expect anything to lie beyond that last horizon. This is the loss of me entirely, the loss of consciousness itself. How could you? How could you lie to me about this? Most humans, when confronted with oblivion, it's impossible for them to truly grasp it. They begin losing themselves in the despair. Many humans indeed ponder or are even certain that there's nothing after death, but to receive the explicit truth from me, it breaks them. I simply wanted to... To what? To alleviate the anxiety as we explored your past. So, you lied to me about eternity because it was convenient? Mori, I was promised the greatest reprieve that I could have imagined. An eternity of paradise after the hell that I endured on Earth? I went through all of this just for you to satisfy your stupid curiosity? And what did I get in the end? Nothing. That's it. Do you immortals comprehend oblivion? Is it even possible? I'd ask you the same. Can you? Whenever I pictured death, I imagined eternal black, a sea of dark in which I would exist forever. But that implies consciousness. What lies beyond exceeds any human's comprehension. Nothing. Pure oblivion. This piece of shit, I knew it was too good to be true. Truly, how could a death deity understand? Why would it care? To this thing, I'm a fleeting little gnat, not even less than that. I'm just a teeny blip. Even if this Reaper feels guilty, 1,000 years from now it won't have mattered. Memento will continue to exist until the end of time, perhaps until the very last life form takes its terminal breath and the universe collapses in on itself. But me, this is all I have. This is all that I am. No. No, no. I shoved Memento aside. You can't do this to me. I am well and truly sorry, Mori, but there's nothing that you can do. Fuck you. I ran. Without a body or energy to waste, I could run as fast as I wanted and never slow down. The world was a blur, a blitz of color and light. No, he can't. He can't do this to me. It can't end this way. The life that I left nothing behind but regret and suffering. I don't deserve any of this. Just, please, let me exist. Mori. You can't run. His voice came in from all directions. I couldn't tell where from. All I could do was keep running. Get away from me! I twisted around and dashed the other way. There has to be somewhere. Mori, please. Don't make this harder than it has to be. Stop following me. I have to run. Somewhere that's safe. He's behind me. I can feel it. The petals, they dance in the corners of my vision. I have to run. I have to get out of here. I have to escape. Please, God. Stop. Stop this at once. I told you, there was no outrunning me. This goes no further. Do you understand? Why? Why does it have to be like this? It's just how it is. It's time. It was pure silence, not a hushed murmur, but rather total, engulfing, absolute silence. The water was so still it looked solid. There was no wind to brush the flowers that dotted the landscape. No sound of birds chirping or insects buzzing. Memento offered his paw, and I took it. We walked closer to the wall. It was soft, yet it felt as though no force on earth could sever its grasp. The boards were silent as we strode across, not even the faintest thumping of wood. Silence. It was pure silence. Memento turned to me and sighed. Well, my friend, this is it. I approached the wall, brushed my hands against the petals. They danced around the tips of my fingers, but I couldn't feel them. I retracted my hand and the petals receded in a splash of red. Looking up, the wall extended far, far into the sky. At both sides, they stretched beyond the horizon towards infinity. You may have a seat here. You can take as long as you like. Thank you. I'll... Yeah. I took a seat on the bench nearby and simply watched the petals ripple across the wall. I've had those who spent hours just staring. Time doesn't move here. It's quite beautiful, is it not? Memento, tell me. Yes? When the last organism dies, what becomes of you? Eventually all life in the universe will be extinguished at some point, yes? When the universe collapses in on itself, heat death, I believe it's called. I have never given that much thought. I suppose, then, we Reapers may disappear as well. And what of before? Where were you before life first sprung from carbon? Memento approached the flowers and gently produced a long, gorgeous lily from it, its petals radiant in the deepest, most brilliant red, its stems, lilith like a silk scarf, encircled his fingers. Memento placed the flower in his lap. Where were you before you were born, Mori? Do you recall that? He said, staring back at me with a distant expression. You've shown me a lot, Mori. More than I could have ever hoped for. I know none of this is easy, but let me impart some perspective that may comfort you. Perhaps it may help you accept what's to come. Memento sat right beside me and tenderly placed a paw on my shoulder. You went through eternity once. What's another one to you? Well, life is just an impossibly thin line between two forevers. But relative to that thin line, the experience varies wildly. Some get to be wealthy beyond their wildest dreams, to control and shape the world and be writ into the annals of time, remembered and celebrated for generations. Others, well, die in their 30s miserable, alone, and forgotten. We all end up in the same place, and we all come from the same place, but that thin line will always be unequal. Some just get to be happier, and that's it. So why couldn't I have been happy? That's so unfair. Memento stood silently and stared into the wall. Perhaps it is. Perhaps that inequality is just the fundamental truth of the universe. Just as I am. I stood up and faced the wall. I think I'm ready. Are you sure? There's still time to... Memento, please. Memento bit his lip in a bitter expression before stepping aside, allowing me to approach. Time felt as though it had slowed to a crawl. 1 step, 2 step, 3. My nose was now grazing the petals on the wall. They danced and flickered in and out, as if assuring me that everything would be fine, that everything would be okay. No smell, no sensation, nothing. I took one last breath and... Wait! I felt a paw seize my hand firmly. Just wait! 1 moment. Memento? I felt a pair of cool, fuzzy arms wrap around me. I'm sorry, Mori. Was he sobbing? I'm so sorry for everything. That you had to live like that. That you had to die like that. All of this, it's so unfair. Why? Why did you have to suffer? And this is all you get in the end? This is all that awaits you and everyone else in this world? I spent so long detached from you humans, your lives, a foreign concept. But now, what is this? This feeling inside of me? It hurts. It hurts so much. The wolf sobbed deeply into my chest. Memento. He bawled, howls piercing the silence. Why does it have to hurt? I held Memento close and rubbed the back of his head. It sucks, I know. Believe me, I know more than anyone. I hate that it has to end this way, Memento. But you won't remember me. In 1,000 years, I'll just be another one of the bunch. It's okay. I'm just not important. No, I don't. I don't want to forget you. I don't want to forget anyone. The people that I've led here, their smiles, their sorrows. I understand. I understand now the injustice of it all. You and everyone else. I don't want forever. I don't want to change in 1,000 or 1,000,000 years into someone completely different. I don't want to not love anymore. I betrayed your trust. I deceived you. And to lead you here after everything that's happened. He was inconsolable. I've never seen anyone cry so harshly. His voice hoarse with an adult wailing and streams of tears that splattered the ground. Just let me go, and you can forget about this all. Memento. I'm tired. If there's nothingness, then fine. At least it stops. You raised and dashed my hopes, but hey, it doesn't matter now, does it? Memento started to calm down and look towards me. I know that I must. He wiped his tears off with his tail and took a deep breath inwards. Mori, if it means anything... Memento drew closer to me. May I ask you one more thing? Just one more thing. Before you depart. What is it? Can you teach me how to dance? What? Before I knew it, the world melted around me once again. This. This is. What? This is. We're in space? To my right, galaxies light years away. To my left, planets and moons, colored purple, blue, green, and silver, danced around brilliant nebulas. It was a tornado of red petals, spinning and swimming like a school of tropical fish through the sea of stars. Memento, where is this? Where the star went? Her home, her wonderful home. There were no bounds, nothing keeping me grounded. I twirled around, and a plume of petals surrounded me. Memento floated up towards me, flowers now erupting from his tail. He slid a paw on my shoulder, another in hand. Like this? I looked into his eyes, radiating with wonder. One last chance, one final moment. No. Like this. Memento took to the choreography quickly. Our stage, a galaxy, our audience, the stars. The memories of the waltz returned to me immediately, as though I had just practiced them yesterday. But this time I felt confident, more fluid, more alive than any of my previous performances. Memento and I danced across the cosmos, our gazes locked into each other's. This feeling, my heart, my chest. Chills, fluttering, it's all so much. Is this what you humans call romance? Is this love? I simply stared at the wolf and smiled. He was certainly no Fred Astaire. His movements were sloppy and he wouldn't stop jittering. At one point, Memento tripped over my feet and we tumbled together into a pool of glimmering stars. The stars were warm, and Memento's body was like a heavy blanket weighing down on me. Despite the slip-up, neither of us could shake the smiles that were plastered on our faces. We laughed together before Memento picked me up again, and we continued the dance. Why can't we just fade into the stars and dance for all eternity? The waltz must end, Memento. The show must stop. Otherwise, why would we ever cherish it? This one wonderful moment, together. We progressed into the next step, and the next. The time for the finale was approaching, yet we savored every moment of our dance. As we ramped up to the conclusion, as the final steps approached, it all stopped. Is that it? No, there's one last step. And what is that? I can hold your hand if you want. It won't make you disappear too, will it? Memento shook his head. No, nothing can. Thank you, Memento. Thank you for being with me. Memento grinned. It's what I do. It's just how I am. I simply smiled back at him and rested my head on his chest. It was warm. For once, the wolf was actually warm. We both stepped forward and plunged into the flowers. The end. Hello there. It's me, Bowser, one of the developers. The story was made for the May Wolf furry visual novel Game Jam. If you have some time, please check out some of the awesome submissions made by the other developers. The story was created by Team Likers. We're five passionate visual novel developers who wanted to come together and create a kick-ass story for this game jam. If you liked our story, please go and check out the other projects that we're working on. Cetus is the author of our story. He's also the author and developer for ICO. It's a 90s mecha anime inspired furry VN. I think it's still in development, and that was one of the ones that I was going to read. Arcadia drew the art. They're developing, writing, and illustrating for Hearts Faster Than Light. It's a queer furry space opera kinetic visual novel. Bowser, that's me, did the coding and programming for this project. I'm the author and developer of Chord Progressions. It's a slice of life romance visual novel that's focusing on musical themes. Raki made the UI. He made the graphics for Chord Progressions, Psychic Connections, and Cleaved. Cleaved is a fantasy inspired romance. Psychic Connections is a slice of life with a supernatural twist. Last but not least, we have Kamazul, our musician. He composed for Distant Travels, a sci fi drama visual novel. He also made tracks for Ocean Avenue, a slice of life sports VN. A quick special thanks to Mara, Yao, and Radium for being our test audience and giving us feedback. If you'd like to give us feedback, we'd love to see your comments on our HIO page. While you're there, please take a moment to give our game your honest rating. Ratings generally boost our analytics and make our projects visible to more people. Thank you for taking the time to enjoy our art. This was a passion project that took a ton of time and effort, and we're all incredibly proud of what we made. Please take a moment to tell someone that you care about that you love them today. You never know when they'll be gone. Take care, everyone. So, that was Before You Depart. I'm wondering if Memento actually disappeared. When he walked through the wall of God, I know these flowers have a specific name, and they're usually associated with death in Japan. That's why I know about them. Uh, the red spider lily, yeah. Yeah. These are red spider lilies. In case you haven't noticed, the red. They have the little um. They're not called antennas, but the little thingies. But yeah. Anyways, but that was nice. I guess it was a nice little exploration of what happens when you die. It kind of follows the same sort of. Well, and let me rephrase this. I literally just finished reading and editing and posting the Arches update, the one that you're probably going to see this Friday, and you'll see this probably after. And if you saw that video, then it's kind of an interesting thing to follow that up. Specifically because they both deal with kind of the end. And this one kind of follows up that thought that perhaps there is nothing or perhaps there is something, and even death or the Reapers don't know what is beyond, because their job is just to ferry you to death or to the next or to the beyond, but they don't get to know what's beyond. And in the story of Arches, it's stated that outside of Echo, because the echoes that are there, the ghosts, are not actual ghosts, they're just echoes. And nobody really knows what is beyond. Like, Cameron doesn't know. The person that dies at the very beginning of that story doesn't know either. Well, they say that there's nothing. But that's because they died in Echo. But yeah, so like it's a nice little explanation that even though that we don't know what goes beyond um after you die, that it is inevitable and you know eventually it's gonna happen, I guess. I don't know where I was going with this. um for me personally, I don't know that there is something, so yeah, I kind of had that same mindset of I don't know if there is something in the beyond. I don't know if the consciousness continues after you die, or if you just dissolve into nothingness. That is, for some, a very depressing thought, and for others, it's just like, eh. I mean, when you die, the body loses something. Um, so yeah, maybe the soul just moves on to something else. Maybe it gets reincarnated. Maybe it moves on to a higher plane of existence. Or maybe it literally just dissolves. Who knows? Anywho, but yeah, write down in the comments what you think. And this is a very long video, so I'm probably gonna split it into two. Well, that will depend on editing, but I don't think I need to do that much editing here. Anyways, but yeah, so comments, and thank you all for watching / listening. If you would like to play Before You Depart yourself, or any of the May Jam stories that were mentioned here, you can do so by going down to the link in the description, and you'll find, if I do it correctly, all the other stories that are part of the May Jam thing, as well as a direct link to Before You Depart. And yeah. Also, before you ask, yes, there were some visual novels that were mentioned. I don't know if I will play them because as soon as you mention slice of life, I lose interest. I am sorry, but I do not like slice of life. But yeah, so I guess that's it for now, and I'll see you guys in the next video.